We're just waiting for everyone to come in right now. So while we are welcoming everyone in today, we would like to congratulate 4 new commission members. So we have Anthony, Kara, is I'm saying it right? Is it Kara or Kara?
It's Kara.
Kara. Okay, Kara, sorry. And Tomas, and we have Blake. So those will be the new commissioners. They do have voting rights starting today. So we would like to welcome our 4 new commissioners. And then also just to give a heads up, so we are no longer doing minutes and we are no longer have to approve minutes. So what we are doing, we are recording each meeting and then we will post a recording on our public DIMR website, our public CPCC DIMR website, along with any presentations, agenda items, and also the recording of the meetings. So that's why we don't have meetings today, so we don't have to vote on any meetings. Excuse me, we don't have to vote on the recording. Excuse me, we don't have to vote on the minutes. Sorry, it's been a day. But we're still waiting to see whether or not we have a quorum because we do have a new application today to vote on. So, but we'll see if we have enough commissioners for a quorum. So I'm just going to mute myself real fast to see how many commissioners that we have, to see if we have a quorum to go ahead to get the meeting started. Excuse me. Okay. Since we have a full agenda today, we're just going to go ahead and get started. We do not have a quorum today, so we cannot vote on Judge Clark's application. But however, she's online right now. So we would just like for her to introduce herself. And then later on, if we do have a quorum, Lisa, who is one of the commission membership committee members, she will present Judge Clark's application. But right now we cannot vote on Judge Clark's application, but since she's here, we'd like for her to introduce herself. Go ahead, Judge Clark, you can unmute yourself.
Hi, I'm Laurie Clark. I'm with the Denver Juvenile Court. I've been on this bench since 2013. Prior to that, I was on a family law court in Adams County. And before that, I did juvenile and family court work throughout the metro area. I do the sex trafficking specialty court and Denver Juvenile Court, and we're working hard into converting our courts to a trauma-informed, trauma-responsive court. I'm happy to answer any questions anybody may have.
Thank you very much, Judge Clark. So on our commission, as you know, we have 2 juvenile seats. So we have 1 opening. So the other individual that's on our juvenile seat on our commission is Jonathan McMillan, and we needed a seat to replace Sean Cohen because she retired. So Judge Laurie Clark did apply to the commission to replace that seat. However, today, since we have not made quorum as of yet, we cannot vote on Judge Clark's application. But thank you, Judge Clark, for being here today. And during this meeting up until 5 p.m. If we do have a quorum, we will come back and we will vote whether or not we would like to move your application forward to the mayor's office. Okay. All right. So we're just going to go ahead and get started. Do I have Melanie on the line from DSD? Melanie and Pickin, are you ready?
Hi. You do. Hi.
How you doing?
Well, how are you?
I'm fine. Are you able to share your screen or do you want me
I
to?
am. Yes. Give me
Okay.
just 1 second. And I think Elias is here as well, and Zach, who will be joining
Yes,
with
he is.
me.
All right, so just to give a little background, July Second Chance Center and DSD came and they presented their data. Their data was mistaken, was a little bit off. So the commission requested for them to come back to present new data that was accurate and correct. So they are here to do that today. So thank you. Go ahead, Melanie.
I'm getting a notification that the host is disabled screen sharing.
Okay, hold on. Let me go ahead, because I do have it. Okay, can everyone see this?
That one's not for our presentation.
Oh,
I don't think.
sorry, you're
No
right.
problem.
Wrong one. You see, I have a lot of, okay, hold on about that. This one, got it. Is it this one?
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, and when you need me to go to the next slide, just say next.
Perfect. Hi, I'm Melanie Pitkin. Elias and Zach, did you want to introduce yourselves?
Sure. I can jump in. Hi, everyone. I am Zach McDade. I am the lead data analyst for the Denver Sheriff's Department. So I really oversee all of the data work and analysis. Melanie asked me if I could just jump in last minute and throw some quick skills and analysis at this. So I will come in toward the end and give you some of my thoughts on what I found.
And I'm Ilyas Elliman, the director of Second Chance Center in the city.
And I am the director of programs for the Denver Sheriff Department. Go ahead, Asadia. Thank you. All right, just to give a quick introduction, the reentry program, as we spoke about a couple of months ago, is a CPCC funded initiative that includes funding to two entities. One is the Denver Sheriff Department through the programs team, and the other, since April of 2021, has been the Second Chance Center in the city. The reentry program is built around the transition from jail to community, or the TJCC model. It's a very collaborative approach. It's data-driven, and it's focused on starting folks with treatment in the jail based on assessment and then transitioning them to the community. And it's really built around joint ownership and collaboration. And in that case, that would be between the Denver Sheriff Department and the Second Chance Center. So in this presentation, we're going to be following up on some questions that came up during the July CPCC meeting. So we're really going to focus on improvements to the referral process, the services that Second Chance Center provided in 2021, and some initial outcomes that we're seeing from the 2021 data. We are happy to take any questions, but we would just ask that you hold them until the end. Go ahead, Asadia. All right, so I will start out talking about the referral process. So we have 2.5, so typically 3 case managers funded by the CPCC in the jail who are providing programming to clients while they're in the jail. And then the ideal referral flow would be for these folks to be transitioned from the jail-based programming to the Second Chance Center. I think typical of a lot of new programs, we had some startup challenges in 2021. So our contract started in April of 2021. At that time, we had some vacant positions on both the Second Chance Center and the DSD side. Context was quite challenging based on COVID-19 numbers going up and down. We did have to work through some just startup processes around hiring and the background check process for Second Chance Center folks to come into the jail and meet with people. We also had to develop a mechanism for referrals. Elias will talk a little bit more about kind of how we've been doing the referrals, but that's something that had to be started up in 2021. Second Chance Center was working on tracking referral sources for walk-ins. So a lot of the clients that Second Chance Center works with are just walking in their front door. So again, Elias will speak more to that, but developing a process to track where those walk-ins are coming from. And then also a real big challenge for us in 2021 was using 2 different data management systems between Second Chance Center and the DSD. Asadia, go ahead.
So one of the things that we identified in 2021, we were primarily getting referrals through an email. It was welcome to SCCIC email. And because we were receiving referrals that way, we weren't able to really track it really efficiently. So at the end of 2021, we created a referral link that we instituted throughout 2022. And that was to help stabilize the information that we were getting and actually be able to track it, be able to pull reports. And so some of the information that we had in 2021, we had a really tough time trying to capture that data information, but we've definitely made a improvement to that in 2022. The other thing that we did in 2022 that was different is previously during 2021, the first start is nearly everyone that came in through that welcome email, even though they were a direct referral, they were still anticipated or expected to kind of come into the doors. We weren't doing a whole lot of in-reach. One of the challenges that Melanie made mention of was that we were having a hard time getting the background checks approved so that we can actually go in and to the city and county jail and do in-reach. That was fully established in 2022, where we go in prior to the person being released and are able to set up services and get them enrolled in our services pre-release. At that time, we also established some monthly coordination meetings between us and the Sheriff's Department to make sure that we're capturing everyone that they're referring to us and that we're not missing any of the referrals. We also started implementing our data into Civicor to try to line up our database system so that we're able to track the information. As of now, as of the end of August 2022, we've actually have a 91% completion rate for all the intakes that are referred to us through the Sheriff's Department. In addition to those individuals, we also have served an additional 745 other clients, all that have been released from DSD within the past year. Next slide.
I will take this one. So we're going to go back to looking at some of those 2021 numbers. So I'm just going to speak only about the folks who are served by our 2 to 3 positions in the jail. So in 2021, we served nearly 200 folks with jail-based reentry programming. Who those folks are, they're automatically eligible to participate in the program if they meet our criteria, which is high risk, sentenced, and not participating in another intensive jail-based program. Of those 199 who participated in 2021, 107 of them released between April and December of 2021, which is the period that the Second Chance Center contract was active. Each of those 199 folks received assessment-based individualized support, so either through the LSI or the WARNA, and then classes including parenting, substance misuse, anger management, cognitive behavioral interventions, and then one-on-one case management. Each of those folks also received referrals to appropriate community services, including the Second Chance Center, but also a variety of other organizations depending on that individual's expressed need. Reentry planning, and all of our folks depart with a reentry plan when they walk out the door. Sadia, go ahead and move forward.
So as Melanie mentioned in 2021, they had 107 people that had actually exited from the jail system and were they were sent over to SCC, but at the time, most of the people were sent as a walk-in referral, telling them to come over to SCCIC. We were able to track the 89 through the welcome email where they notified us of the individual coming. Of those ones that were referred to us in that way, we completed 30 of the referrals. This is one of the problems that we realized as we moved into 2022, is that it really wasn't very effective for them to send an email to notify us of the person that they were coming over, but it was already after the person was being released from the jail. So we weren't really able to capture everyone that they were referring over to us, which is why we instituted the referral link and made sure that we started doing the in-reach by the end of the 2021 into 2022. In addition to the ones that they referred to us, we also completed an additional 300 intakes that were self-referral walk-ins. Of the total number that we actually completed the referral on from DSD, 21 of them, or 70%, were actually successfully placed in job placement. So once we were able to actually capture the individual and get them enrolled in services, we actually were pretty successful in getting them moved along in their reentry process. like I said, the main barrier that we faced was being able to actually connect with the individuals, which was something that we remedied in 2022. Next slide. So again, looking at the 2021 numbers and going through 2022, from the beginning of the program start in April 2021, we've seen 1,137 individuals that have walked through Second Chance's doors. Of those that we've actually been able to engage beyond their initial intake, there's been 600. We're seeing a trend within our services that those who don't engage in mental health or disclose that they have mental health or substance use disorder, they usually don't come back beyond their initial intake. And so one of the things that we're looking at in 2022 is to try to bring on some mental health support and some support throughout the Second Chance Center. We were previously partnered with Aurora Mental Health, and right now we're trying to reestablish a community partner or bring on someone in-house. So the other thing that you can see is that those that were able to engage beyond services, we were actually pretty successful again to engage primarily a good portion of them with employment services, and again, getting them connected with job placement. One of the things that we're seeing recently is that a lot of individuals are refusing to participate in some of the employment services, and we're also having a shortage of people that are willing to take felons into employment. So one of the things that Councilman Cashman came and toured the Second Chance, was able to see. One of the things that we did to try to correct that issue is that we started to establish our own apprenticeship programs and direct to employment services with some construction trades and a few other partners that are willing to still hire felons. Next slide.
Okay, this is me. Before I get into the work I did and some of my initial findings, I just want to be very clear that what I've been able to do up till now and on a relatively short timeline is definitely not an impact analysis. This isn't something where we can say reentry services or Second Chance Center caused these results or caused these improvements, because I just haven't been able to do a rigorous enough analysis. In fact, it's actually quite difficult to do an analysis that rigorous. So what I'm able to show here is a correlational analysis. Here are folks who were treated in reentry, who were treated by Second Chance Center, and then here is the change in their outcomes based on that treatment, or sorry, at the same time as that treatment, not based on that treatment. And so, as an example of kind of correlation is not causation, I use data from 2021 because we need some time after people are released from jail to understand whether they're rebooked back into the jail and other things. We need to let some time go by. So 2021 is our recent time. Something else that also happened in 2021 is a major economic and social turn away from the impacts of COVID. So it's just sort of a really big shift in the way we are living our lives in the community and the way we are engaging with our economy. So it's possible that any changes we see in outcomes could be attributable to things like that rather than treatment. And it's just very hard to tease that out. So I just want to be very careful. However, I will also say that it is my professional opinion that we'd be unlikely to see as strong of findings, as positive of findings as I'm seeing if there weren't some impact of Second Chance. That's just, professionally speaking, that just seems very unlikely. So we looked at the people who were treated and released from about April of 2021 till the end of December 2021. So we had about a 9-month window because we're 9 months past 2021. So I looked at 9 months before, 9 months after. In the 9 months before the program, people had an average of 1.7 bookings. In the 9 months after they entered the program, they had an average of 0.8 bookings. So about a 50% reduction. Before the program, there were only 6% of people who had no bookings in the 9 months prior. 55% had no bookings in the 9 months afterward. And of all the participants in the sample, 70% of them had fewer bookings in the 9 months after compared with the 9 months before. So those are all very positive. Again, I can't say with certainty that I can attribute to the program, to the treatment, but those are very positive looking numbers. And I also looked at the time between rebookings before and after. Among people who had multiple bookings in the 9 month window before, they went an average of 72 days. Among people who had bookings in the 9 months after, they went an average of 111 days. So a significant extension, more than a month extension in the amount of time between rebookings, as well as a significant reduction in bookings for those same people. Next slide, please. As I said, this is a correlational analysis, not an impact or a causal analysis. So there are definitely additional things that could be done to increase its robustness. For one thing, it will be good to extend an analysis window further than 9 months. So by the end of this year, we could certainly reprise this analysis and do a full 12-month window. That could definitely add some nuance to the picture of what we're seeing. It will be also interesting, just as time goes by, to do the same analysis for different periods of time. I'd like to be able to kind of parse out what is the effect of that transition away from the deep impacts of the pandemic back to economic and social life more normal as we know it. I think that'll be important. We could also start to come up with sort of that statistically rigorous comparison group, a counterfactual condition, perhaps by comparing to a population who are identical on the eligibility criteria for reentry, but who did not participate in our program. That could give us a good way to sort of control away for other factors like motivation. And I know that CPCC is in part a funding group, and it is always important to understand some return on investment. Return on investment analysis is quite difficult to do when you don't have a fully blown impact or causal analysis, which itself is quite difficult to do. But we could begin to get at that. For instance, we know that the participation in the jail-based program is associated with earned time credit, a reduction in jail bed days that people have to spend. We know that reducing jail bed days saves money, and we have some fairly rigorous figures for what that cost savings is. So that could at least be a very good place to start in terms of getting a conservative sort of lower bound estimate of what some actual dollar figure savings or return on investment might look like.
Thanks, Zach. So we're happy to take any questions about any of that material.
I'm sorry, I can't find my hands up button. Is it okay just to ask a question?
Yes, go ahead, Armando.
Yeah, just a general question. I saw the reference to utilizing Core Civic as kind of the data system. Are we utilizing a central system or a second chance utilizing a central database to get all this data in?
So we are currently using Civic Core. Melanie and I have been in discussion trying to figure out which database we can both go into. We're currently using Case Manager. They're looking to see if that would be something that would meet their needs as well.
Okay. Yeah, I'd like to learn more about that. I know that that's been kind of an ongoing conversation around, are we utilizing the right database to get this data so that we can look at it better? So I think I know in past meetings, people of other commissioners have talked about this as a deficiency in us identifying like which is the best data system to utilize to capture all this data.
Yeah, and I think that was one of the challenges that previously, because we were in different data systems and we were trying to rely on some support to get our information in Civic Core, where the last meeting, some of the information that was presented wasn't exactly accurate. And it was solely because we were using different data systems and we weren't able to pull the reports correctly.
Thank you.
Do anyone else have any questions for the reentry team? Okay, well, thank you for presenting today, coming back and providing the commission with those answers. I mean, with the answers that they had from the July meeting. Thank you very much. So we're going to go ahead and move on to what everyone is anticipating, the funding, the proposed funding for 2023 for the commission. Liz was going to provide an update today from the funding and budget subcommittee. However, she had an emergency, so she's not able to attend today. So we're going to go ahead with Laura. Laura, you can go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Laura Wachter, Deputy Director of the Department of Safety. And Sadia, can you share the screen? And I can just give is Carol on? I can't see everyone on.
No, Carol's not here today either. She had an emergency as well.
Oh, okay, perfect. Well, I will give the, just a brief update of the 2023 mayor's proposed budget. And then we can talk through kind of the next steps. Thanks, Asadia. So as you all may or may not be aware, the mayor released his 2023 recommended budget on September 14th. He hosted a press conference in the Par Widener room over in the City and County building, and that continues the budget process. And so CPCC, so that's where we are in the bright green, right there, the current step on or before September 15th. He releases his budget to City Council. So next steps in the process, and I'll get to what those budget recommendations were on the next slide. But the next step in the process, so this is just the mayor's recommended budget. The Department of Safety has budget hearings in front of City Council on Friday, September 30th. And so we spend the day just going through what our budget recommended budget is, and then also answer any questions and from City Council members. And so then from there, Council has an opportunity, and most departments get that opportunity to go through the Council budget hearings for the next 2 weeks. So then from there, Council has an opportunity to weigh in on the budget and work with the mayor's administration. And so then the mayor has to take into account all of their concerns and considerations, and then he presents a second budget. And that is the one that City Council will actually vote on. So that happens. So he'll present his second budget on or before the third Monday in October, which happens to be October 17th. And these dates are set by charter. So on or before the fourth Monday, the council has to hold a public hearing on the proposed budget. And so then going through the council process, it goes before first reading then on November 7th, and then it should go before second reading to be voted on by council on November 14th. So that's kind of where we are in the process. We're just starting that council budget process with the public hearings. The next slide, please. So what was recommended in the 2023 budget from the mayor? So, and it's kind of broken down into two parts, and reading the budget book can get confusing. So I try to just decipher it for this group. So what's in safety's general fund, which was in moving over from DDPHE, are the positions. That includes Asadia's position, Cindy's position, and a new fiscal administrator position to handle the contracts, all of the finances of CPCC. And so that is in our general fund budget. But what's in CPCC's budget, so it's in a special revenue fund, the recommended budget is a transfer of $2 million to $2,051,000. And then also utilizing the projected fund balance in the current special revenue fund it's projected to be about $1 million right now. So for a total CPCC budget for programming of about approximately $3 million. Now also, next slide. And so what else happened in the budget recommendations for 2023 is each of the city departments requested their old CPCC programs to be sustained and institutionalized in the general fund. And that was recommended by the mayor. So you can see all of in the first column is all of the budgets that all of the programs that CPCC funded in 2022. That includes outreach court, competency, fast track drug cases. So these are all of the current programs going on. And then you can see what was recommended in the 2023 CPCC budget. And then also what is being sustained in the departmental 2023 general fund budget. And I know I'm speaking a lot of budget terms, so I will absolutely answer any questions regarding this. But for instance, the co-responder program. So that was funded, that's the fourth up from the bottom. In 2022, that was funded at $700,000 through CPCC. And the mayor is recommending funding that at $700,000 in the police budget. So does that make, and then for instance, pretrial supervision, there's another one. That was funded within CPCC's budget in 2022. And that is being recommended to be in just in the general fund budget for safety in 2023. So those, you can see here, just a clear listing of those programs that got sustained and institutionalized in the general fund budget, in the department's general fund budget. Asadi, did I say that? Okay, did I say that clearly?
Yes, I understood, but I work for the city and I got a little bit of knowledge. But if you have any questions, we can just wait to the end and I'll call on individuals who have questions.
Perfect. And so in total then, the wellness program, that was not moved over to the county court's budget because it's a relatively new program. It's only been, they're still really getting up and running and still, it's still being worked through. So that's funded at $300,000 in 2022 in CPCC. And so that was proposed to be in the 2023 CPCC budget. And likewise with TJCC, so the reentry program, that was funded at 1.2 million in 2022 CPCC. And again, that's in the recommended special revenue fund budget. So that is, so in total then we have, so the story to take away from this is the mayor has heard us. We've been asking to move these programs over into the general fund. And so he is recommending to move the programs into the general fund and funding the innovation funds within CPCC. So that is it. That's questions, concerns, thoughts.
Okay, go ahead, Anthony.
Thanks, Asadia, and thanks for that great presentation. So yeah, Anthony, I'm new at-large commissioner as of this month. So this is my first meeting, bear with me. I just had a question on the budget presentation that you just did. So it sounded like a lot of things are coming out of the CPCC budget and just going into safety, which is great. They're going to be hardwired into the city. Do we know though, what's the unencumbered budget that isn't attributed to programs and tap for programs already that CPCC might have some flexibility with if opportunities come up over the year? Do we have an idea of what that dollar amount is?
Yeah, so currently, the programs that are still being recommended to stay in CPCC is the reentry program as well as the wellness court. That is a total of about 1.5 million. And the total CPCC budget for the recommended CPCC budget for 2023 is about 3 million. So of that 3 million, it's presuming that 1.5 million would be for those current programs that are not being transferred off into the department's general fund.
Great, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, Lisa.
Thanks again, Laura, for that presentation. That was great to see, and I think great to hear. I feel like the entire time I've been on the commission, this is what we've been asking for, to have these funds available to then be able to fund new initiatives. And I also had a similar question to Anthony. So it seems like there's about 1.5 million then to fund new programs. And is that what that innovation fund is now sort of referencing? That's the pool of money then that's available for new innovative projects? That's the reference there?
Yes, that's correct.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Lisa.
Thank you, Lisa. Beth, I seen your hand up. Do you want to say something or you're okay?
I had the same question that Anthony and Lisa had, so.
Okay. Thank you very much. Do anyone else that is a commissioner have any questions for Laura while we have her at this time?
Sorry, I don't have a question. I just want to say thank you to the budget committee from not only just the budget committee, but I know they did a lot of hard work around, getting this stuff planned for, giving me and Laura the information to then go to the mayor and BMO about arguing for, moving these projects to, or these funds to general fund. So they are hardwired into our system and now sustainable. And then now giving us also feedback or giving us money that we can now innovate too. And that's been also what we've heard. And Lisa, thank you for mentioning that, because that's been my feeling for quite some time. We were trying to get funds, more funds so we can innovate. That's really what we're about, and what the commission has worked hard for. And to not have funds like we've not had and just been sustaining this has really not been ideal. And I really thankful to all the commissioners for their input throughout this process and how we've done. I really wanted, when we took this back on in safety as trying to lead the CPCC, this was important. I knew budget was a central thing that we had to get figured out because it was a very big pain point. I'm glad and I'm happy that our BMO and our mayor were able to provide us that budget there. We still would want more, but we are happy with what we got now. And I'm looking forward to hearing from the commission and our community on how we can spend this on innovative programs. So thank you. And thank you, Laura, especially for all the hard work here.
Thank you very much. Daniel, I see your hand, but however, you're a guest, so I have to wait until the end to allow for you to speak. So I will keep that in mind that I saw your hand. So next up, do anyone have any other questions for Laura? Any other commissioner have any questions for Laura before we go ahead to our next agenda item?
Can I just jump in really quick, Asadi, as well? And thank you, Armando, for that. I think that the budget subcommittee has been working really hard, and we're working on a process to create that RFP process to take in all of the ideas for innovation. Through the survey, we did get a lot of really good feedback on programs that was presented previously, and so currently with Deanna, I see Deanna's on, as well as Alice Norman. Just kind of working through like that RFP process now and our goal is to release that RFP here within, as soon as we can after the budget is passed officially. And then hopefully having some new programming in place with contracts in place by the end of January. So it's a quick timeline, but it's going to be really kind of fun to pull all of that together and put some of those proposals together for CPCC's decision.
Thank you for your comment, Laura. Go ahead, Lisa.
So just one more question, and I think you were kind of mentioning this, Laura, but I just want to make sure I understood. So now with this innovation fund that we have available as a commission, do we have to get that formally then approved of how that money is going to be spent out? And then what's the timeline around that once we go through the RFP process and all of that?
Yes, so once like I said, the mayor, he goes through his, after hearing all of the budget hearings, he'll release his next budget in October. Council will vote on that budget by November 14th. And so after that happens, then we can release the RFP, and then the CPCC will make those decisions as to how those innovation funds are spent. But then the council does have to approve the budget of what's currently recommended in the budget.
And then is that by January 1, then we would look to have that money contracted out with these programs?
We would look to have the realistically, so we will have the budget January 1, but it's with the hopes of contracting out the dollars by the end of January and February. Just
okay, thank you.
Getting through the RFP process and the contracting process.
Thank you, Lisa and Laura. Go ahead, Alice.
I just wanted to add that Liz and Carol and the rest of us kind of tagging along the budget committee have been working on a structure for the RFP and trying to put some thought into it already. I just wanted to let you know there's thought that's been put into it.
Thank you, Alice, and I hope you feel better. Do anyone else have any other questions for Laura? Okay, so next on agenda is our executive director, Armando. There's going to be a quick short meeting because we still don't have quorum. So unfortunately, Judge Clark, thank you so much for being here today. I know you will have to leave a little bit shortly at 4 o'clock. So we will put you on the agenda for our October meeting. I will follow with an email for you. So if we have quorum for the October meeting, then that's what we will vote. Go ahead, Armando, with your updates.
Thank you, Sadia, and thank you, Judge Clark, for joining. I'm sorry we didn't have a quorum to vote on you today. Look forward to the next meeting where we can vote and move you forward. I apologize about not having a quorum. I know that a lot of our commissioners had some pre-existing things and some emergencies pop up. So, but I am happy to see the attendance to be as good as it is. And I look forward to the next meeting. I met with Sadia earlier. We are talking about doing an in-person hybrid, also have the ability for folks to join by Zoom. I know that that's still important. Some have expressed to me directly and Sadia that they would like to meet in person. So we're trying to find a reliable and one that works well. I know in the past when we've tried to do hybrid, we've had a bunch of technical difficulties, which makes it even harder to try to do it and then leads to a lot of wasted time in that. So we're going to try to work on it with some folks here, some technical folks, to make sure we have a well-run system that we can do a hybrid model successfully, because I also do want to be sensitive to those folks that do and want to be able to attend, but can only do so remotely as well. So look for that next meeting to be in person, hopefully, or if you prefer via Zoom. Yeah, I think the meeting's going to be a little short today because we do not have the quorum. Lots going on. I am thankful for the budget work and the work that we've gotten to budget, and look forward to the budget hearings and discuss this with council and talk about that. I really hope, and I know that Alice and the team that are working on the RFP process are trying to make it also that it's not too cumbersome and a barrier for folks applying to these things, and making sure that we can have a good, thorough process, but that doesn't become a barrier for folks and programs to try to help in this space. I know that every time we talk about our city RFP process, that sometimes it has had impacts on people just even applying because it can be so cumbersome in that regard. So hopefully we can identify that and innovate around some things. One of the things that's come up that has also come up with the Reimagining Policing and Public Safety Task Force, as you all know, or most know on this call, there was 112 recommendations that were provided by the task force in a report to the city. We've worked with executive branch in the city, with all the other departments, and really been led by the effort of Emily Locke in our department, our safety department. Our policy director, Emily, is really, this has been her full-time job in helping coordinate the response to this, to be very thorough and methodical and go through this. We are working on wrapping up that work. And we are planning, I believe, later in October, we will, or maybe mid-October, we will be presenting council our latest, findings and recommendations around those. And, we've developed a dashboard that we are presenting, what we're implementing, what have not been implemented, and those that we cannot implement, and those types of things. We're really trying to put a lot of thought and thoroughness behind the responses there. And I also am happy to report that I have been interacting a lot with Dr. Davis, who's been the coordinator for the task force. Really trying to get to a better place in communication between safety and the task force. Paused a little bit there. We've been trying to get it going again and really trying to work on this. What I don't want is I don't want the recommendations, and when they've been responded to, that stops the engagement with the task force or the engagement around the spirit around a lot of these recommendations. I think there's room for a lot of dialogue and continued improvement in this space, and that improvement in our public safety agencies especially cannot happen without the involvement of our communities. So looking forward to that and looking forward to getting that out there Emily, I don't want to put you on the spot, but did you have anything to add around the recommendations? Because then I'm going to talk a little bit about, or maybe you can help me segue to the recommendation around reentry analysis.
No, I think the only thing I would add is that we definitely appreciate the patience of not only the task force, but the community members and the many interested parties. Obviously, the recommendations report covered a lot of ground and provided a lot of really thoughtful recommendations that the city. I was really impressed with the amount of time and effort that the executive branch personnel put into that effort and the care that they put into responding to the recommendations. But I know that that has required a lot of patience. And so I appreciate the patience that has been shown as we work through that process. And, I'm very excited. What you'll see, what I think Armando is about to talk to you about next, is that we're also really looking forward to how can we best partner with organizations specifically like this commission that has such great representation of so many stakeholders, representing our community, representing the different systems and partner entities in our criminal justice system. And so how can we continue to move forward with that thoughtfulness and continue moving forward with areas where we know that we have areas for and opportunities for improvement and for innovation within our systems. So that'd be the only thing I'd add right now.
Thank you, Emily. So yeah, that's what I want to talk about next was, there were some recommendations as we were going through them that we really said the right space or the people that could really address this recommendation or the commission that's already built for this is the CPCC. And I think I shared with you last time when I joined the meeting, one of the exciting things about, I thought, CPCC returning to safety, where there were a lot of questions that are coming up in the public safety space around these issues and things. And I've always, and it's been a refrain for me when I'm talking to my staff, is like, I really wish we could take this to the CPCC or take this to our Justice Coordinating Committee, the subcommittee of CPCC, to really tackle these issues, these efforts, because just looking around this room, every time we get together, we have subject matter expertise. We have our elected officials that are in this space. We have, our community partners. We have our nonprofits. We have folks in here that are part of it. We have our chief public defender. We have our DA. We have a lot of folks in this space. That's why the commission was developed the way it was, that could inform on these very hard topics that are not easy issues that are facing public safety right now. And so one of those is reentry. One of those, and one, I believe it was, and correct me if I'm wrong, Emily, I think it's recommendation 66 specifically talks about the analysis of reentry services in our city, the reentry that we provide for our city. And so I know that we've had a reentry subcommittee in this, that we've looked at things, but I really think that what we're hoping to do is with recommendation 66 especially, is that we want to bring that to the commission and say, and as part of our response saying, yeah, we would like the CPCC to look at this, analyze it, talk about what we're doing, talk about like, what's the data system we're using? The question I had previously for Second Chance, what are we using the right data system? Are we doing the right things? This is what we should do. Do what we've done and what this commission has done best around that reduction of jail space and our jail beds, and really work to like, can we innovate more in how we're doing our reentry services for folks to make sure that we are impacting that recidivism rate that I think all of us know has just gotten to, it's been problematic, and we've seen that it's been problematic, and what can we do better around reentry to do that? So that's one of the recommendations that I'll highlight for you that I think that we're going to work towards, and when we do our formal response on this, is to ask that we're going to address this, and we're going to ask the CPCC, maybe it may be the mayor that's going to ask directly, or it'll be me asking for the CPCC to take on this analysis of our reentry systems, get together in subcommittees, work on it. And then maybe that's where, and obviously it's going to be up to the process that we've identified for RFP, but is that something that we innovate around or do some of our budget application around? Or are there other programs out there that we can do? So that's really what I wanted to share with you all today, is that I'm really excited about the opportunity to get the CPCC active again in the space, to look at these issues, get more engagement from our folks. I'm glad that we have, a lot of folks that have joined today. While we don't have a quorum, I saw Chief Thomas was on. I'd like to also welcome Chief Thomas to his new role as our Chief of Police. A lot of us are excited about Chief Thomas being in this role and what he offers. And one thing we all know, that everyone's been around, that Chief Thomas shows up and he's here, and by evidence that he's here in this meeting today. And I know he's got a lot going on, is that commitment that he has. So Chief, I just want to give you a few minutes. Do you have anything to add to, and thank you for joining the CPCC today.
Yeah, no, I appreciate the introduction, and I have been listening. I don't have a lot to add at this point, but certainly excited to continue to engage with this group.
Great. Well, thank you, Chief Thomas, and we're happy for the partnerships, and I just really would like us to, just utilize this group, this platform to engage more around these issues, to have open dialogue, to have people in a safe space for all of us to talk about the issues we're encountering and come up with some good resolutions, and hopefully now with some funding behind it, really be able to invest in those types of innovations that we have. The other part of this is working with our data folks. And that was something that the mayor asked of me, and that it's always been something that's been top of mind for everyone on this commission that I've talked to in the past, is how do we measure the success of these innovations, right? I think every one of us want to be data driven. We want to make sure we're evidence-based. We want to make sure that, while we've done and funded programs, have there been programs that haven't had the best results, or can we invest better in other programs that are more impactful? I think that around that, and like the presentation we had earlier around some of the data, is really being intentional around any of these innovations, is building the data system and also the support. Make sure that whoever's doing this work, that we also have the support and staffing that can support that data collection and data things. Because a lot of times we have people programming and they're doing all that hard work of programming, but they're not, maybe as intentional about doing the work of, copying down the data or collecting the data. And then it's hard to show the outcomes of these programs. So I really want to make sure that we keep that in mind. And I know engaging with this group and all the people that are on this call, that we're going to be able to do that in this space. So there's also some other, I think, recommendations from the task force that I think that as a commission we can look at. And lastly, what I wanted to add in is that, and I mentioned it briefly, is the Justice Coordinating Committee. My first involvement in CPCC was with the Justice Coordinating Committee. I also then became involved, I don't know if a lot of folks on this call know, but we are one of a few jurisdictions around the country that are also part of the National Justice Coordinating Committee. And I've been to a couple of their conferences. It's, it's also helpful to engage in other spaces around this. It's when I first learned about the cahoots model of, what was really kind of our first template for STAR, and those types of things was through that. So that was a committee and subcommittee that operated, that met. We met monthly and really looked at the justice part of the house and looked at data and looked at things to kind of impact that. I remember, back then when I first got involved, we were at a spot where we were at our maximum in housing in the jail. We were at our capacities. We were at that 2150 capacity of our jails. We were then trying to innovate around reducing the jail populations to what we can. And all those little things that we did back then really did impact us to where we got in a way better space around our jail population. It also helped us, and we used a lot of those blueprints of how we did that to formulate when we had to respond to the pandemic. And really, when we reduced our population to under 1,000 at that time, I was using a lot of that data and how we were approaching our jail population, what we knew about our jail population, to identify that population for release during the pandemic from innovations we had in that Justice Coordinating Committee. So that's a subcommittee that we're going to be looking to kick off again. We're going to be asking, who wants to be involved, who wants to be a part of that. And that'll be other subcommittee work that we have. And then I also see that reentry committee hopefully taking on, we'll have a formal presentation maybe at the next meeting around that recommendation from the task force around this reentry analysis, and we can kind of see what kind of work we can be done. But just wanted to kind of give you those highlights. Again, thank you for all the folks that are working on the budget. Obviously we've got a lot of hearings and things we got to go to take place before that takes root. But I'm happy to be leading the charge there, and hopefully we'll have some innovation fund coming to us soon. With that, is there any questions that I can answer for anyone? All right. Thank you, Asadia.
No problem. Once again, do any commissioners have any questions for Armando? Okay, I don't see any questions. Daniel, I seen that you raised your hand up earlier. Would you like to speak at this time?
Thank you. Hi, my name is Daniel Van Scooten. I'm the administrator for the Citizen Oversight Board here at Denver. Really appreciated the presentation on the CPCC's budget. I'm familiar with most of the programs, but I have sort of two questions about that. One was whether you could clarify, someone could clarify what the driving under revocation program is and does. And then my second question was whether or not something like this with a list of the different programs that CPCC funds could be maintained on the public facing website. I think that's a real neat resource for the community to better understand what everything that the CPC is funding and involved in. Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel. I'm going to call on Deanna because she is the manager over that DUR program. Go ahead, Deanna.
Yeah, hi, Daniel. The DUR Driving Under Revocation program is a program that's run by Denver County Court. It was a response to something that came out of this commission from our city attorney and district attorney who wanted to address, we had 5,000 DUR cases filed in our court each year. And these individuals have a real difficult time getting their licenses reinstated. One, they either do not know what requirements they need to complete. And two, there's also a lengthy eligibility date usually tied on to that reinstatement time. So we came up with a pilot program. It is now a fully funded program. We currently have 2 to 3 navigators working that program. And basically we divert with the agreement from our partners with the city attorney and district attorney. And we've also expanded the program from DURs because legislation has also changed. But we've included our DARP cases, which is just a more severe driving under the revocation charge in a sense, and then our DUR ALCs. So somebody who has their license suspended due to an alcohol component to it. But either way, 99% of the time, these cases are determined for eligibility from our prosecution team. They're given an option to opt into the program. They come and meet with our navigators. We pull their DMV history. We determine what eligibility requirements are needed. If the client opts in, then what we do is we basically take over supervision of this case. And it's kind of held in, could be held in abeyance. There's some different components to the different charges. But either way, we handle the case. We remove it off the court docket. We trail it. We set reviews out. We establish relationship in connection with the defendant to go over those eligibility requirements. We walk through the process, whether it's child support, re-engaging with their child support worker, looking what fines and costs might need to be worked out. Is it an SR 22? Do you need an affidavit? Things like that. And this could be anywhere from a 1 month period to a 2-year program, depending on the length of that eligibility date. So if someone's successful, once they reinstate their license, we sent notification to our prosecution team and file a motion with the court. And 99% of the time, those cases are dismissed. And then if they're non-compliant, and if we just lose either contact with an individual or they're just not really engaged, then we make a motion, file a notification back to the court, and we get them to reset back onto the docket. So then the normal course of prosecution would take place for those cases. I'm probably missing a couple of things here and there, but in the short, it's basically having someone who's trained to identify those issues on the DMV record, what the barriers are, have somebody that's in the client's corner to navigate through the obstacles of different courthouses, what the language means of reinstatement and some of the barriers. And ultimate goal is to give them time to get the licenses reinstated.
Thank you, Deanna. That's incredibly helpful.
Thank you.
Thank you, Deanna. Do any other guests have any questions right now for the commission? Okay, so I don't see any other guests or commissioners have any other questions or remarks. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn?
Thank you, Deanna. Can I get a second?
Second.
Thank you, Alice. All right, everyone have a great day.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.